me call the Berkeley City Planning Commission to order for its regular meeting of Tuesday, December the 8th, 2015. Would you all please rise for the pledge to the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could I have a roll call, Ms. Vanson?
Smith?
Here.
Murad?
Present.
Richardson?
Here.
Shadle? Here. Tangari?
Here.
Pop?
Here.
Morrell?
Here.
Buckler?
Here.
Barnett?
Present. Now I'll entertain a motion for an approval of the agenda this evening.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Mr. Morales made the
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Pop. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Murad?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Buckler?
Yes.
Shadle?
Yes.
Tangari?
Yes.
Pop?
Yes.
Morrell?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes. I don't see it on the agenda, but I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the November the 24th meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman? You
Yeah.
making a motion?
I'll recommend, Mayor, make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Shadle. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Martin Smith.
On page 2, stoops and porches. Did we not discuss changing this to 200% over 150%?
Yes, we did.
We did. This isn't what, this was just what I had drafted, the set of
Okay.
standards. That is what I drafted.
Oh, okay.
But then there was subsequent discussion about it,
Yes.
and I was told to research standards.
Okay. I didn't read it that closely, apparently. And on page 3, primary building material,
I'm
Brickers.
sorry, where?
Page 3.
I know. Oh, I see it right in the
Primary
middle.
building
Okay,
material.
got
Brick or
it.
stone, then no other I can't talk tonight. Yeah. No other decorative masonry. I don't know if we established that yet. Let me see. I'm not sure we all agreed on that yet. Now, these are just,
I think as of 2 weeks ago, I think that is what you decided, but if you
Well-
want to change your mind again, you
well,
can.
okay, let me ask. Did we say, no, there's these finished concrete masonry units that, as I said, I defy people to distinguish from bricks from 30 feet away. Did we say we did not want those? I could be mistaken if I'll apologize.
I remember discussions about
Right.
that it had to
Remember
be clay
discussion.
brick, too.
Did we?
Yes.
We did say, okay, so maybe we said upon planning commission review at that point? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay.
And then not to belittle a point, but staff commissioner comments, since I'm going now and I apparently can talk now. I attended the recreation plan open house. I said several of us did, I believe Mr. Barnett, Mr. Morrell, and I think Mr. Tangari was there also.
I was there.
I wasn't
And all
there.
that, okay.
I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't?
Nope.
Well, then I mistook you two apparently.
Yep.
So maybe
Mentioned
several
that
people.
Several.
For the
You
record.
mentioned that several commissioners attended, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, with all that, then I will entertain a roll call vote.
Smith?
Yes.
Buckler?
Yes.
Tangari?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Pop?
Yes.
Morrell?
Yes.
Shadle?
Yes.
Murad?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes. Any communications?
Just a couple of articles I found. I was cleaning out magazines on my desk and found a couple, one on planned unit developments and another one on capital improvement plans that I thought you might find interesting.
Thank you. At this point, I'll entertain citizens' comments. Any citizen who would care to address the Planning Commission on any topic not on our agenda this evening, they may step up to the microphone at this time, and they may please state your name and city of residence. Okay, not hearing any citizens rushing up to the microphone at this point. of the meeting, we will close citizens' comments. Citizens will have an opportunity to address the Planning Commission in other parts of the meeting. They will also have an opportunity to participate in the meeting as we move forward this evening. Ms. Vanson.
Item number 1, Planned Unit Development, PUD 0115, Mark Adler for Harvard, MAH LLC, 2659 Harvard, south side of Harvard, between Kipling and Coolidge, lot 68 of the Denler Acres subdivision. Parcel number 25184770005 is requesting planned unit development approval for a townhouse development.
Okay, what we're going to do this evening, so just so everybody's aware, I'm going to have Mr. Adler do a presentation, and then I'm going to open a public hearing, and then after we hear all of citizens' comments on it, we'll close the public hearing, and the Planning Commission will further discuss the issue. Mr. Adler, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
It's upside down.
It's upside down.
This is not gonna work. Given that we have the
you wanna
renderings, you
prop-
might turn it toward the crowd so they can see it.
Yeah, turn towards the audience, we have our own.
I'm blocking you, Mr. Smith, all right?
That's okay.
So, good evening. Harvard Commons, located in Harvard, between Kipling and Coolidge, is planned to be 18 units, 6 3-unit buildings, and as discussed in our previous Planning Commission meeting, the design and so forth, which is in front of you now, with those modifications that were made. The Harvard Commons is set up to be pedestrian-friendly, to be open as part of the community, with the front doors facing a common corridor, sidewalks, seating areas, gazebos, and so forth in that area. The garages are going to be on the outer perimeter and nicely finished on the rear side as well, as noted the changes also that you have in front of you as well. Currently, the property is a vacant piece of open space. It's open property. It's a field, and currently the water, it sheds where it goes, and it flows free flow anywhere. So when Harvard Commons is done, it'll be engineered so that the stormwater from Harvard Commons will stay on Harvard Commons, on the property itself. Speaking of water, the entire site will be irrigated, landscaped, along with the association will maintain, this is a condominium association, will maintain the entire exterior of the buildings. They're responsible for the roof, responsible for all landscaping and maintenance as well. Snow removal, leaves, and so forth. The association will be a formed nonprofit corporation, as all associations are under the Condo Act in the state of Michigan, professionally managed, and every co-owner will be responsible for their maintenance association fees. The other item that I want to address that we talked about, and I can't really see the whole crowd, but is that you asked me for the Harvard side to be dressed up a little bit more. And so you can see in the rendering in front of you, we added the bay windows and quite a few more windows on that side, along with the gable detail. And then the doors facing Harvard on that side too. We also mirrored that on the rear. That would be to the south property line as well. So you have that type of same architectural detail on that end. Stone along the belt line just before. In the rear of the units, you also note that I had added more detail as you requested as well. If there's any questions or more to take that, Dan Tosh, my architect, is here also. He can get into a little bit more of the material that we talked about for the building itself.
Okay. All right, at this point, I'm going to open it up to the, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Citizens who would care to comment on this may do so at this point in time. May step up to the microphone. Please state your name and city of residence.
My name is Steve Allen. I live at 2660 Columbia. I wanted to give you a little background on myself. We're fairly new to the community. We've been here just a little over a year. Came here from Oxford, where I spent 18 and a half years on the Planning Commission in the village of Oxford, 9 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and 6 years on the Village Council. So redevelopments definitely aren't new to me. I've seen lots of them come through. This one, I will say, however, is probably the most aggressive I've ever seen for the size of the lot. 18 units seems to be a bit much. And I can only speak for the people along Columbia because I'm very well versed at what happens. Those are some fairly fragile properties when it comes to stormwater runoff. We all get flooded every year. And it's from snow melt, heavy rains, you name it. We do get standing water in our backyards, and it takes a long time to perk down. One of the main concerns that I have is with 2 single roads leading into the condominium, that without them being connected with storm drains on that back portion that's connected, I'm very concerned that the snow is going to end up being pushed down those roads right up to that property line, which is going to be problematic. And I watched your YouTube of your last meeting, and the builder said that, well, that can be worked out with the association. Actually, you have the right as planning commissioners to make it part of the site plan approval, all of the maintenance, and it can be specified right on the print that nothing happens, but or that's taken care of. That's a big problem for us. We do have ankle deep water, and those lots actually do this. They are high on the street end, high on the back end, which is the abutting property, and a very low spot in the middle. I'm just really concerned that right now the water would perk through that property and not stand there, that once it's filled with concrete and asphalt, that may not be the case without a complete drainage system all the way around. Also, I noticed on the plans that there is a plan, correct me if I'm wrong, for a large concrete retaining basin that's covered at the back of that property. Is that true?
It's not a concrete masonry, no. What it is a method in which we can drive a fire truck around on it. It is not a solid base. It's
Right.
square, and it's got holes in it, and we plant grass in it, and
Okay, that's what I was talking about with asking that those roads possibly be connected.
that's
I noticed
for the
on
fire department.
back of the site plan, on the back edge of the site plan that abuts our adjoining properties, there appears to be something called out there that's stormwater retention. I think that would be the south property line. Is that the case?
Let me say something about this stormwater, because there are a lot of rules, regulations set up by the state of Michigan, the federal government now, and the developer will have to maintain and deal with stormwater and stormwater detention and how it is released to the city sewers and drains. And the city engineer is already looking at this, and he's written a 3-page report on this, and the developer will have to meet those conditions because it's mandated by the state, the county, the city of Detroit, and the federal government. So everybody's going to have a piece of action on how water is removed and handled on the site.
Okay, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Martin Smith.
What I think he's asking is there is a underground retention basin on the south, the south end of the property.
Okay.
It's done all the time.
Yep.
Probably big corrugated plastic tubes. They could be all different sizes. But that's to detain the water,
Okay.
the runoff from the roofs and the pavement. But it's all along the back end there. It's underground. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is, water runoff, as the chairman spoke, will not be an issue. The water runoff will be detained on site and then slowly released, throttled out to the sewer system on Harvard.
And the entire site for the condos will be pitched towards Harvard Road? Is that what I'm to understand?
No, from the looks of it, we don't have a grading plan, and, sorry, I know we don't usually respond to all these comments, but we don't have a grading plan, but from the looks of it, the storm basins are in the parking areas, so everything's pitched to the drives, and I believe there was some in the sidewalk area between the two buildings.
Yeah.
There are.
Yes, there is.
So there's storm basins all over, and those feed directly into this underground basin.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Just a couple of other points that I'd like to make. One of them is, I understand the building height is 36 feet, 3 stories.
35.
35, excuse me, I stand corrected. Being plunked down in an area of predominantly 20 to 22 foot high homes. I personally think that will stick out like a sore thumb, and it most certainly will screw up any view that I would have from the back of our house. And the other comment that I'd like to make is the neighbor's view in the surrounding areas. The owners of these units will by far have the best view. And I see that there were some changes made to put bay windows on the part that faces Harvard Street. And I think that's a great step in the right direction. But we need to make sure that everyone that has to look at that property looks at the best possible scenario that they can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Chase Ferguson. I'm a homeowner on Kipling Avenue. I'm against the rezoning of the proposed property. I would not have wanted to purchase the property with this rezoning in place. That fact scares me a little bit because my home will be less desirable to future buyers. There's a couple issues with the proposed development that I would like to talk about. One of those being the parking and the traffic circulation or lack thereof. From what I understand, along the sides of the buildings, there's going to be parallel parking. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's parallel parking. There's discussion at the pre-approval meeting that trash trucks are going to have to pull in to empty the trash and then back out of the property because there's basically no place for them to turn around. I'm assuming that that's also going to apply to recycling trucks, UPS, FedEx, basically any kind of service vehicle coming into the property and trying to leave. I'm also concerned about noise pollution. A lot of trash trucks, city trucks, have backup sirens on them. My property is basically directly behind this, along the parking area of this property, so that's going to be something that I have to listen to all the time. This concerns me because all this backing is going to create a hazard for children running and playing. There's no sight lines between the buildings where if someone's backing out of this property, if a child comes running between the two buildings, 3 buildings, what's going to stop them from, the car that's backing isn't going to be able to see them. So that concerns me. And also, as far as the parallel parking of the cars, I'm not sure that the parking lot is going to be wide enough for those parallel park cars to actually do a U-turn to exit the development, are we to assume that those cars are backing out as well? So that's the first issue that I have with the development. The other one I'm confused about is the fire lane. I'm not sure if this is a fire lane or a playground. From what it sounds like to me, it's going to be like a common area for people to, I guess, play bocce ball. I don't know. Is this area going to stay plowed in the winter? Is it common for fire lanes to be dually used for picnic, play, and emergency? This to me sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. As far as back to noise pollution, I'm concerned about the air conditioning units on the property. There's going to be 18 air conditioning units. Not sure where they're proposed to put air conditioning units, but that's another concern of mine. And then as well, which has already been stated, the drainage of the stormwater and sewage. With the current property being zoned 4 homes, curious as to what the excess capacity of those existing systems are. Another concern I have is the non-conforming buildings. Basically, they're going to be encroaching upon the neighborhood, surrounded by single-family zoned properties on 3 sides. I'm concerned that this development doesn't maintain the scale and character of our neighborhood. There's going to be second-story balconies basically overlooking my backyard, which the privacy in my backyard is basically why I moved to this neighborhood. Snow piling on the perimeter is also a concern of mine. And another major concern is the lighting on the property, because my property is basically going to be within 5-10 feet of this parking lot. What kind of lights are we planning on putting back there? I don't want my whole entire backyard lit up. In reading through the City of Berkeley's master plan, there's a lot of things that stuck out to me as far as, you know, ensuring that new developments and homes preserve the character of the neighborhoods without a negative impact, making them appear compatible with the neighborhoods that they're in. I'm not sure that these 35-foot buildings are necessarily going to be compatible with the rest of the neighborhood. Right now, they're all very large lots which are desirable to me, and packing in 6 buildings right on top of each other with not enough parking for everybody, no way for residents to get in and out of here. It concerns me. I feel like a lot of the safety and convenient traffic patterns are being compromised here. Obviously, there are some plans with this proposed, some conflicts with this proposed plan in accordance to the master plan. I'm just concerned that if, you know, we're willing to throw out the master plan on this development, is this going to set the precedent for future developments and rezoning in our city? That's what I got.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Pat Russell, 2656 Columbia. I'd be on the south side of this property. Most of my concerns have already been discussed, but I'd just like to reiterate them. Once again, the water drains down to my property. I'm already at least 2 to 3 feet below what this level is of this property, and I'm afraid of snowplow being put in each corner and snow melt going into my property and flooding it more than it is every year. I'm concerned with the air conditioning units and the noise those are going to generate. Where are they going to be located? I know it's been said that there won't be any garbage dumpsters or anything like that. Is there anything that will stop that from happening? I could see dumpsters in the future being in the corner right where my property is. I'm also concerned with the lighting and how that's going to affect my property too, and how I use my property as it is. Thanks.
Thank you. Other comments?
Eleanor Walsh, 2652 Columbia. I live next door to Pat, and my property backs up to the field. I have everyone's garden right behind me right now, and I like that. That's good. I garden. They have raised up the ground level a little bit. It's not too bad, but when I moved into my house 39 years ago, there was a water problem. And I was told that the church backfilled this property in the back, the whole parcel, because it was a weeded area and people dumped things in there. And it was like bed springs and bedding and car parts and pipes and all kinds of stuff went into that ground. The city, or the people in the neighborhood, who are all gone now except for me, took up a collection and a petition to have the church fill the property in and get rid of the weeds because there were rats and everything in there. And they did, but they didn't take a lot of the stuff out. So there's probably a lot of that stuff down in there yet that didn't show up in the core sample that Mark Adler did in April, which I went out there and I took pictures because I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know the property was for sale. And I went out there and I'd taken pictures, and he comes up to me and he said, "Are you from the paper?" I said, "No, but I wish I was, you know." And he said, "Well, we're doing core samples." I said, "Yeah, I can kind of tell that that's what it is." I said, "But what is it for? What are you doing?" "Well, we're going to build homes over here. We're thinking about building homes." And I thought, well, that would be okay, you know, that's zoned for homes. But it wasn't zoned for townhouses, 35 feet tall, and a whole community of, I don't know what now. I mean, the water, like everybody has said, the water problem has been a problem forever. I've had people come out to my yard, tell me what I could do. The last person that came out told me I could backfill property or dirt to level it out to my neighbors because everybody around me has raised it up, but except for me. But I don't know if I want to do that. It's expensive endeavor for me, and I probably will do it. But I don't know if that's going to help with this building project going on. And rats is another problem. We have a lot of rats around us. I catch them all the time, and I'm trying to get rid of them. If we've got all these dumpsters and people over there and everything, there's going to be a field day for the rats. The city itself has problems with rats, and we've got new restaurants on Coolidge, and I like the restaurants and everything, and they are doing good rat control because they have good dumpsters and they seem to be pretty safe, you know, in that respect. But we still have rats, and they're all around. And what else? It's just going to be. It's not our neighborhood. It won't be our neighborhood anymore. It's going to change the whole neighborhood, and everybody that lives there wants the neighborhood to be the way they had it when they first moved in. I feel sorry for all the people on my street. They're almost all new in the last couple of years. We've all gone through a flood together. And that was just a tragedy for everybody. And now we have to face this. This is just a terrible thing to put in our faces. These people have bought their homes and fixed them up, and they like the neighborhood. And I see people walking around with their kids and dogs and everything all the time. There's more people in my neighborhood than there ever was before, but we're all in the same neighborhood. When you put something like this into our neighborhood, it's not going to be our neighborhood anymore. It's going to change it. It's definitely going to change it. And it's not going to be for the better. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? RJ from I live in Berkley on Kipling, 2020. My backyard is going to be like the southwest corner of all this. It's going to be right next to the parking lot and probably the dumpsters, even though they said no dumpsters. I got a couple of things. They said snow. They said, oh, they'll truck it out if it's a heavy snow plow or heavy snowfall. Well, I mean, Michigan, it snows constantly, and it's going to keep getting piled up, and that's going to go into my backyard. And then they said they're going to truck it out. If they come up with anything saying how they're going to truck it out, are they going to bring in a big dumpster or a big dump truck to truck this out? Where are they going to take this snow once they dump it out? It's easy just to say, hey, we'll truck it out, just to appease you guys. I mean, they have no plan so far for that. Another thing is, I'm going to be on the parking lot side with the fence. I have kids. have a chain link fence. Someone gets drunk, drives their car through the fence, hits my kids. How are they going to stop that? One other thing is, I live in an old craftsman style home. A lot of the homes are old. There's still a few craftsmen that are old. That's why we bought our house. It's classic, it looks good, it's the charming part of Berkeley. Now you're gonna put these big monstrosities that they don't fit. I mean, this is single family homes that, you know, they got that old charming appeal to them. And this is why we moved here. We got the big backyard, we had an open field. Build a park, you know, or just leave it grass, it looks nice.
Okay. I don't need comments from the audience at this point. We have a person speaking at the podium. He has the floor.
Another thing is,
Thank you.
everybody's talking about this ground level. I had to mow my lawn in 2 feet of water this last summer with a ride-on lawnmower. My yard's already a foot or two shorter than that. They're gonna build, they're gonna backfill everything around to the outside. I'm gonna be 3 to 4 feet below. I'm gonna basically have a swimming pool in my backyard because of this. So those are my concerns. That's about it.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Leah Dinescu. 2020 Kipling. That was my husband. I have a couple of concerns also in regards to this building here. I do have small kids and animals. We have a dog in our house. I am concerned. One of my main concerns is the traffic. If you don't live on Kipling or Harvard or in that area, you don't realize the traffic, the amount, heavy amount of traffic that we already have in that area. I'm concerned that putting all of these homes, they sure are going to be nice and, you know, cost a lot of money and great. They're going to be bringing a lot more people, a lot more traffic. There is only one stop sign at the corner of Harvard and Kipling. People fly. They are stopped at that light at Harvard and Coolidge, and they just fly down. They're at Kipling and 11 Mile. They fly down. I don't let my kids walk. I don't like walking. I have neighbors with dogs. They don't like walking a lot of times because of the traffic. Now, I'm very concerned about the amount of traffic that's going to come. Is there anything saying, you know, can you put more stop signs? Can you put more, you know, we have that school there. Berkeley doesn't bus, except for that school is there. We have those buses, and they fly down our streets as well. It's very unsafe for the neighborhood, so the amount of traffic I am concerned about. I'm not going to repeat everything that almost everybody has said up here about the water, but what I am going to say, my concern is above and beyond that, is that there can be planning for the water. It can be approved. But then what happens down the road if it doesn't work out? What happens if down the road my backyard still floods or it floods even worse? What happens then down the road that I'm going to feel comfortable? How am I going to voice my concerns then? Where am I going to go? Who's going to hear me? I don't know. That's one of my main concerns. This is going to get built. What am I going to do to stop it? But I have to live there. I don't know where you lovely people live. I know where I live. I know where my neighbors live. We know our neighborhood. And these things are our lives daily. We're going to have how long of construction? After that, we're going to have all of these things that these people, that our neighbors have voiced our concern about. Yes, okay, all these things are going to be planned, taken care of, whatever. Everything's going to look great. It's going to get approved. And then what happens when it doesn't work out that way? That's my concern. My concern is that we're going to be told one thing, and then something's going to happen down the road. And that's where my concern is, that we're not going to be helped then. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Rachel Orlick, and I live to the south of the proposed development. I'm actually speaking on behalf of another concerned citizen who is not here this evening, but resides on Elwood. And I just wanted to show to the end that we were speaking about not coming through on promises. I just wanted to show everyone here. This was a rendering, an architectural rendering for a townhome on Elwood, or rather on Greenfield, adjacent to neighbors on Elwood. And it's very, tasteful, stately masonry facade. And then here is an example of what was constructed, what was delivered. According to my friends on Elwood, it has changed the character of the neighborhood. A lot of the single-family homes are now for sale, or they have turned into rentals. There's a problem with vermin, and I don't want to see our neighborhood suffer from any of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marianne Long, and I live on 2060 Kipling. I've been a lifelong, pardon me, my throat, I'm starting to get a cold, a lifelong resident of Berkley. I grew up here, and when my husband and I chose a home, we picked Berkley because we liked the community. I've volunteered, have done tons of community work with the library, a long family history of doing it. And part of the charm of what we liked about Berkley was the homes, the size of the homes. We liked the lot sizes. We were looking at Clawson, Ferndale, and Royal Oak too, but we really enjoyed the lot and how it backed up and the charm of the homes that people have brought up too. But I guess what my concern is when I look at this, when I see this home, a lot of things that I've spoken to, we also have where our house is on Kipling, we also have the water problem too that comes in the spring. We have flooding in our backyard. We also have I have other concerns too about the safety issue as far as what does it mean for adding and when I speak of safety, I'm thinking of driving. I think of my young daughter is in preschool now. She'll be going to Rogers. I see her walking to school. The thought of her walking by this with 40 people leaving for work in the morning, going out of there and stopping, I'm sure everyone has seen rolling stops, but I'm concerned about her walking and going to school. We just put a play structure up at the back of our property, and I think about lighting. I think about the privacy. She's a young, child. I don't like the idea of bright lights in our backyard on our property, so that's a concern. I'm also concerned about how with kids, we also have the amount of traffic that would happen. It's been spoken to too, but I'd like to highlight that reiterating another resident, the amount of traffic that is on Kipling. I drive her to preschool now, the amount of people who do cut through our street, so the amount of adding 40 other, individuals with cars, if you're adding two, just being conservative and saying 2 cars per unit. I also am concerned about the garbage and the recycling trucks and the added noise as far as that and what that would look like for us in our house and, with a young child and just being outside, the idea of why we liked this home. I'm fine with the zoning idea of it being 4 homes and that's how it is, but this doesn't really seem to fit. The idea, my understanding, Berkley has really gone to the idea of having a more green space. There's the Green Committee. There's also the idea of looking at parks. And, where we're looking at parks, this is a green space that is there. So the idea of taking away from this and losing more green space where you just financially can't do it doesn't seem to make sense. I get that we want to, as a community, be similar to Royal Oak or compete and have homes, but this would make sense to me in like the downtown area, but the individuals who live here won't be from their houses, they're not going to be using this to walk to downtown Berkeley. They would be driving, so that doesn't kind of fit in with how you think of Royal Oak or other ideas. It just doesn't seem to fit in with the major plan of the city, again, looking at the green spaces and the parks. And so I would just want to say that I, again, am another resident just very concerned about the lighting, the water, and the safety, and the added cars that you would add for people driving through the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mikkel, 1990 Kipling Avenue. I'm going to read a few excerpts from the master plan. On page 20, an older housing stock is attractive for many because Berkeley neighborhoods have preserved the character of small, traditional neighborhoods. This character includes several homes with unique, timeless design details and tree-lined streets that truly reflect a welcoming, family-oriented neighborhood. These qualities are in such high demand that, in fact, many communities are attempting to recreate these features. This development goes against this. On page 47, the single-family residential land use designation is intended to accommodate strictly single-family residential development. Future development is permitted in single-family residential areas provided they maintain the scale and character of the neighborhood. This development goes against that. Continued on page 47, development in a single-family residential area will maintain the traditional neighborhood design principles that currently prevail in these areas. This development goes against this. The design of multiple family buildings should complement the adjacent single-family residential neighborhoods, and this development goes against this. Page 86, part of Berkeley's charm is accredited to the presence of mature street trees along major corridors and entwined in residential neighborhoods. Berkeley should ensure that these trees are preserved in spite of infill development or redevelopment of existing sites. If these trees are required to be removed, the city should require replacement of existing mature trees with larger caliper trees. This development goes against this. Along with agreeing with all of the opposed points, I'd like to disagree with Mr. Adler's recognizable benefits. High-quality architectural design. I believe this is non-conforming. These buildings are too long and belong in the downtown area and certainly off of a major road rather than within a residential street. Efficient consolidation of poorly dimensioned parcels, really? These are large, desirable lots that are private, and this is a major reason of why we bought our home. I imagine prospective home buyers on those 4 single-family home lots would feel the same way. Mixed uses or a variety of housing types. I feel there's many other areas in Berkeley that he could improve or optimize other currently zoned multifamily unit developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, thank you all for your time. My name is Taylor Webster. I live on 2715 Columbia Road, just south of the proposed development. I want to touch on 2 major issues in addition to everything that my fellow citizens have said here today. The first issue would be sewage capacity. You all know in August 2014 there was a complete failure of the sewage system. They said that was a once in a 100-year flood and it wouldn't happen again. But who's to say that's also true if you add, 18 units to the same block again? A little financial backing to those sewage system numbers. I wanted to support my water and sewer capacity argument. So to do so, I went and looked at the comprehensive annual financial reports issued by Berkeley on an annual basis, compiled by the finance department. I was able to calculate that Berkeley only invests 7 and 8 cents of every revenue dollar collected for the 13 and 14 fiscal year ends respectively. And that's on water and sewage improvements. I got that ratio by taking the water and sewer fund capital expenditures over the water and sewer fund revenue and receipts from those services. I applied that same calculation to the city of Royal Oak, and it turns out that they invest double. So that got me thinking about 2014. Water and sewer revenue was right around $6 million. Operating expenses were $4.5 million. Where did that other $1.5 million go? The city of Berkeley took $750,000 and bought investments in U.S. Treasury bonds. You can trace that to the cash flow statement, also under capital expenditures. This money could have been invested in our sewer system rather than earning nominal amounts on interest. I find it highly improbable that our already broken water and sewage system can support this excess capacity when our city won't even allocate the funds necessary to improve the system. I fully support that we table this plan. However, if that's not possible, I fully support restitutions to the surrounding properties on Columbia, Harvard, Kipling, including vinyl waterproofing, retainer walls, new sump pumps, backflow valves, because chances are they're going to need all those things.
Thank you.
Natalie Price, 2773 Harvard, right at the corner of Harvard and Kipling. We just purchased our first home here in Berkeley in May, our first home anywhere, and we chose Berkeley and we chose our neighborhood because of the character, the privacy. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I love being able to let them play in the backyard, be out there with them now, how young they are, but I like the idea that in a few years that they would be able to play out there with just me checking in. But this development and the is changing the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood, and I'm afraid it's affecting my privacy and the safety of my children. So in addition to agreeing with the concerns about the water and the light pollution is a concern of mine, I just wanted to share my concerns of changing the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I'm Kia Essian, and I live at 2702 Columbia, so I'll be just south of the proposed property. I moved here 2 years ago. My husband and I, we had a weekend to find a home, and we did a lot of research, and Berkeley was rated really high in community and in the school system, and we looked at Ferndale, Clawson, and Royal Oak, and we ended up choosing Berkeley because of the small homes and our piece of property. I grew up on a farm. It has a big backyard, a nice open view, and I love that. And we have a child and another child on the way, and I love the concept of the backyard. So besides all of the concerns that they've brought up, I'm also very concerned about what's going to be in the back there, because right now my yard is completely fenced off, and so concerned about that. And most importantly, how this might change the neighborhood, because it's drawing people like my husband and I and other people to this community, and especially in our block itself, I've seen a lot of younger families choosing because of the types of homes and yards. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lisa Kempner. I live at 2660 Columbia. When we moved here a little over a year ago, we moved from Oxford. There were a lot of places in between. We looked in Rochester. I researched. I'd worked in Berkeley 10 years ago. And I ended up here because I liked it. It was just kind of city enough, but just walkable and friendly and big yards. I would not have bought my house if there was a monster in the backyard towering over it. A house, sure, you're going to have that. A 3-story monster is a total different thing. I have a little girl. I want her to be able to play there. That's a lot of people to jam in a teeny tiny area. It's a lot of people to jam in there. And doesn't flow with the rest of the neighborhood in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure there's a place where that works really well. In the middle of a neighborhood of single-family homes, many of them which are only even one level, it's not the place for it.
Okay, seeing nobody rushing to the microphone, I'll close the public hearing. At this point, Mr. Adler, do you want to address any of the concerns that you heard here this evening before we dig into this?
Yeah, the one that really sticks out is the lighting. The lighting, which is noted on the plan, the lower front page. So the lighting was addressed was on the they're going to be coach lighting, residential coach lighting on the garages and on the front doors, just as any home would have. And then in between the buildings along the common corridor, there'll be boiler lighting. They will sit probably between 36 and 42 inches high. That would be one of the, there is no tall street parking lot lights, I assume. The other item is the road that, the fire lane, let's call it fire lane. It's going to be grass with, I think you actually mentioned it, with the grid system.
Right.
Compacted, so, yeah. So, and we've got that. I think those other items, as I mentioned earlier, the site is going to be engineered, as we talked about earlier too, so.
All right. No, all right, I'm going to turn to the Planning Commission now at this stage of the game. What we do at this point, since this is a PUD, there's a lot of paperwork, there's just a lot of pieces to this puzzle. We will be making recommendation to City Council, and City Council will have the final say. Now, being a PUD, the city gets to put a lot of conditions and into the PUD that the developers will have to manage. A plan unit development. It's a plan unit development, and it's separate from the way we do normal site plans and what have you. It's got a lot of pieces to the puzzle. It allows as a municipality to go slightly beyond what is the normal zoning ordinances and the normally what we would do and look at when we do site plan review. But we can put a lot of conditions to it, and it's the opportunity for allowing the city to move slightly off of its normal patterns of site plan development, and in doing so, it provides that opportunity that, like I just said, that we can do a lot of conditioning. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, stormwater seems to be a big concern of all of the residents here tonight. I have to tell you, I read a report today from our city engineers, Hubble, Roth, and Clark. It's quite an intensive set of instructions that the developer is going to have to maintain and have to put into his drawings, and Hubble, Roth, and Clark is going to review it again, as is going to be South Oakland Water Authority is going to have to review it, and other areas for the retention of water and how it is released to the environment, and that is into the sewer system itself. So the land is going to have to be, and the developer understands this, he's going to have to grade it accordingly. And hopefully when we get through grading it and he gets things developed, it'll help your areas. I think it'll prevent water from getting in there, problems of mosquitoes in the summer. I think the land will be developed in a better way that will benefit all of you as neighbors to it. But at this point, I want to move to the Planning Commission, and let's see what we need to do here.
Mr. Chairman, can I elaborate on the PUD?
Sure you can.
What I do for a living, we do a lot of PUDs in our office. And to further explain a PUD, say this property was zoned as apartments. It's not. Let's say it was. It has a zoning. We have restrictions, setbacks, and bulk and things like that, but they can build whatever they want. The PUD is a contract. He is required to build this. He can't vary from the plan. We saw a couple renderings here, and I said 2007. I've been here 16 years. I don't remember that one. But this is what he is under contract law with the city to build. Now, colors may change a little bit. There may be some minor details, but there shouldn't be. Everything has to come back to us. So what you see, and the good thing about a PUD is it protects the city, it protects the neighborhood. What you see is what you're gonna get. There is not gonna bait and switch. This is what happens. And that's what a PUD does. And like I say, we do these all the time in our office, and what the chairman said is absolutely correct. But I just want to elaborate on that. It is a written, rendered contract with the city of what is going to be built. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now, members of the Planning Commission?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
A couple of things. One is that two of the concerns that I'm hearing about are lighting and privacy, and obviously Mr. Adler has addressed the lighting to some degree. One possible way to further address, lighting, really the problem from lighting at the level that he's talking about on this development for neighboring properties isn't so much light trespass like it would be from a high up light. It's more glare from an open fixture. So if you found some type of fixture that had more of a cutout type or cutoff type design that kept the kind of pools of light around the garages, you wouldn't be sending glare onto the neighbor's property. So that might be one consideration as far as protecting neighbors from glare from building lighting. Another possible consideration as far as privacy is concerned is I do see a proposed 6-foot wood fence going down a portion of the western property line. However, it kind of gives way to the existing chain link fences after that. If you were to continue that wood fence around all the way down the western property line and along the southern property line, that would go a long way toward hiding particularly the vehicles that are proposed to be parallel parked along the western property line from the neighboring residents, but also this grass fire lane that some people have expressed some concerns about. That would also be screened from the ground level. Amy, under the current zoning, what is the tallest house that could be built on this lot?
30 feet.
Thank you.
It's 30 feet?
I was writing
Okay.
that down. I was looking at it.
Right, so you're talking about 5 extra feet of height here from what could possibly be built under the current zoning.
And Mr. Chairman, that 30-foot house could be built 5 feet from the property line.
That's true.
As opposed to a 35-foot building that is 31 to 35 feet from the property line.
We should also note that that's measured to the midpoint
of the-
between the eave and the
Right.
peak of the roof, so the peak of the roof would actually be higher than 30 feet.
Okay, thank you. Other members, Mr. Richardson?
Well, I just have a few comments. I have 3 things on my mind, actually 4. I'm an attorney by trade, and I've actually read most of the proposed contractual agreement with Mr. Adler, and that hasn't been signed yet. It certainly is still subject to negotiation, but I'm satisfied that when Mr. Smith said that this is what has to be built, that contractual agreement does in fact require that. It's very specific in many areas about what it's going to have to require. But we can still, it hasn't been signed yet, so there's still room to negotiate things that may be of concern. The water. I invite fellow commissioners to correct me if I'm wrong, but certainly we as a commission can't recommend a development which we have reason to think would create a flooding problem. So we have to assure ourselves that this development will comply with city, county, and state requirements. But that's not the same thing as us deciding what those requirements are. Once the agencies tell us that they're satisfied, it's really not our place to contradict what they're telling us. I have some concerns about the snow removal. I think maybe we should discuss that a little further. The main thing I'm hearing from concerned citizens is this development will change the character of the neighborhood. First of all, I think that there's a degree of truth to that. We have to be candid about that. We have discussed this as a planning commission. It was our sense, I think, that because of the deep lots that surrounded the site, and it would provide a degree of separation between this development and the neighboring properties. And I can tell you that we've had a lot of discussions about making sure that the neighboring properties are not subject to nuisance conditions. So I'm willing to listen more and discuss that more. One thing that does occur to me, the comments about sanitation, the contract can require that it can lay down conditions on how trash is stored and picked up. So we can deal with those kinds of things in the course of approving this. We are, I think, impressed with what Mr. Adler has presented. We do feel confident that we can develop conditions that will protect the neighborhood. But
no.
We all live in Berkley. My house was flooded in the Great Flood. I think we all remember that.
No, excuse me for a minute. I have a member of the Planning Commission who's got the floor. We'll get to you shortly.
Okay, well, I'm finished. I'm just open to further discussion on some of the points that I've raised.
Okay. Other comments from the Planning Commission?
Mr. Chairman.
Ms.
I have a
Shadle?
question. Just to be clear, the intention is still two-way traffic on both of these driveways, is that correct? And the grass fire lane is to only be utilized for emergency purposes?
Anyone else on the Planning Commission? Mr. Tim?
Mr. Adler, where were you thinking of putting the air conditioner units for these?
Dan Tosh with Progressive Associates Architects. They're in the small island at the rear of the garage. There's a semicircular space.
Okay.
That's where the condensing units would be located, with a screen around them.
Behind the garage, not right at the property line.
So ground mounted.
Yeah, so it's about 25 feet away from the property line.
That's correct.
Yeah, 25 to 30 feet.
That's correct.
Thank you. Anything else?
Nope, that's it for now.
Ms. Pop, anything?
Not right now, sir.
Mr. Morrell?
Mr. Chairman, there was some interesting
discussion here tonight. You know, I look at it and I say that right now it's an empty field where there's no retention. And we have a client who's adding a great deal of hardscape, but he's also putting a retention system in. And I think that it's, I'm no engineer, but I do have to rely on them, I think, as we all do. And I think that, you know, if the engineering is sound, there's not much more I can comment on the water issue. The snow issue troubles me. And it makes me wonder why we've clung so hard and fast to the grass fire lane. You know, maybe we just need to pave that thing so that cars can go in a U shape around this, and it eliminates backing up and sirens and the questions about trash trucks and because I think that's a good concern. From a highest and best use standpoint, I do think that this is what belongs here, and I look at that area and people who, you know, there's been some discussion about this being in the middle of a neighborhood, and you know, we've got the church pretty much occupying the rectory is the space to the east, and it occupies pretty much the whole space to the south or to the north. Mm-hmm. And you know, a real concern for me in the future, particularly if and the way that, you know, the Catholic Church, you know, what would happen if they sold the church land? Mm-hmm. And that could be redeveloped in a heartbeat, particularly the rectory. I look at the rectory and that's, you know, that particular use could real easily be calved off by the church and pretty much, because when this was part of the La Salette, when the La Salette mission was here, there was a completely different way of looking at things. And so, you know, we're lucky in that we sit in these meetings all the time and we talk about why we are pursuing the things that we're pursuing. If there's a question of dumpsters, I think that's pretty much easily put into the PUD contract that there won't be any dumpsters. I don't see a problem with that. With regard to sewage capacity, again, I have to depend on the competence of our engineering folks to not let us down in that area. You know, both you and I, Mr. Chairman, have lived in Berkley for a number of years, and certainly I knew that the flood of 2014 was indeed possible because I had lived through them multiple times. In the final analysis, I do think that, yes, I thought Mr. Allen's comment about this being aggressive was probably a pretty good term, but I'm not convinced that being aggressive isn't warranted in this case, because I do look at this parcel as, I've looked at this parcel since I was 15 and wondered what could go there.
Yep.
So,
I heard about it too.
I don't see any balconies on these designs, so the person who had issues about balconies, I didn't see any. The lighting does seem pretty low impact in terms of, you know, nothing really more than you would expect. I mean, quite frankly, when you look at the size of the halogen lights that people put on their garages, I don't see any of that here.
No.
And so I don't consider that to be all that big of a concern based on what this does. But I do think that, you know, we probably need to talk a little more about snow, and I think we need to discuss the idea of maybe we just pave this grass fire lane and just get rid of the whole idea of people having to back up.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Tringari?
Two possible rejoinders. One is it necessary to pave the back lane in order to have a passageway for things like UPS trucks and garbage trucks, or can it be used as proposed for those purposes?
It's primarily to provide for fire protection.
Right.
That's the whole point of this.
But would simply signing it saying you're permitted to use it for passage, if you can't turn around, I mean, that could be one possible thing to look at. What was the other point that I was just about to make? Right. Sorry. I'm going to have to excuse myself in a few minutes. The other point that I was going to make is escaping me because I've got parent brain.
Lighting, snow, pavement.
Oh, yeah, the balconies. There are balconies. They face into the site.
Inward. Right, right. They don't face out.
No.
They face
I
in.
knew that. I wanted to clarify that one point.
Yeah, they're in, yeah.
I am going to have to excuse myself. I apologize.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to go back to the
Ms.
the
Buckler.
fire lane. Yes, I'd like to go back to the fire lane, because I actually remember having this discussion about having those Greeny Grove driveways some years ago with you, Ms. Vanson, but there's no reason that as long as the stormwater infiltrates into the stormwater collection system as designed, that you can't have a driveway. Now, it may not take heavy traffic, but you wouldn't have heavy traffic daily on it, because you don't get garbage pickup daily. But you can do the Greeny Grove driveways or the engineered structure with the grass. They look like grass from kind of the side, but they are certainly durable enough and can they reduce hardscape, they increase infiltration to an engineered, collected stormwater system with outlets towards Harvard. I see that as a very good solution, and yes, could be used by UPS or garbage or whatever else, and you have a hard time stopping the residents from using it too, but.
You're fine. Good night.
Well, you can't. But it's their, as a condo association, they can find some way to self-police that. Tickets, I don't know, camera, catch them, give them tickets, I don't know, but that's up to the condo association. And they'll want the area to be maintained and look pleasing for their home, so, that's it.
Chair.
Mr. Murray.
On that note about that space, in the fire inspector's comments, his concern too is if it is during winter and it's snow covered, that area, how do you maneuver your fire truck there?
He was
So
more
I'm kind
concerned
of-
about the snow being piled.
Yeah,
there.
but my thought is even if the area is not piled back there, and we have
90
lots
inches
of
of
snow,
Has to be cleared.
and they need a fire truck to get back there, they're not gonna be able to. So I'm more inclined to agree with, Commissioner Morel that maybe we just pave that area completely.
Okay,
I
let's
like the idea of the grass back there, but
talk a little bit then about snow removal, because everybody here seems to be antsy about the snow. Has there been any address but Mr. Adler regarding the snow removal?
We have discussed it.
It will be the condo association that's
The
going to
condo
figure it.
associate's responsibility, yes, okay, and within the contract of the condos, or with the contractor from the association, will stipulate whatever needs to be done.
Yeah.
The grassy area, it has been used in snow areas as well. I was looking that up in Colorado, it's pretty common. Either you take the blade, you lift the blade up, and you plow it through so that there is that route, okay?
Right.
If you're gonna end up using it for UPS, and that's gonna be a different issue. But for the fire truck, so the fire truck can see exactly where they're gonna end up going, that's it. The other alternate, and this is where a contractor who's an expert in snow removal is gonna talk about, is backblading it.
Mm-hmm.
So you go in there and you backblade it out, and then you haul it out of there. So, and I'm open to suggestions too, but that is the most common way to do it. So.
Okay. I guess I had a question, and I don't know the answer to it, because it was brought up here about Federal Express and UPS and delivery trucks and all that. Actually, the front doors are going to be to the court.
common area.
So I would think UPS more than
Park
likely.
in Harvard.
Would more than likely park in
Walk
Harvard
down the middle.
and walk down the middle.
Put everything on a
Most
cart.
likely.
Most likely. There may be one or two that figure out something
More
else.
than
but-
likely they'll park on Harvard and load it all on a cart and down the road they go.
Drones.
Mr. Martin Smith, you got some other comments?
Well, I haven't really spoken yet, other than butting in, but
Okay, you have the floor.
I wrote down a lot of comments. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We actually like this. Usually it's a tumbleweed back and forth, and nobody's here to listen to us talk to ourselves. I wrote down a lot of comments as you were all speaking. and I'll just go through the list. Some have been answered, some have been discussed, but let me go through the list, and then I have a few comments of my own. Stormwater runoff. Again, as has been said, we have to rely on our engineers. This isn't a Berkley system. This is a regional system that failed a year and a half ago, and it had nothing to do with Berkley's system. It was way downstream, just overloaded the 12-town drain and everything else. So that's not something that Berkley controls. The underground storage, as I said earlier, that's something that we do in our firm. I'm not an engineer, but projects we work on, there's a lot of that, and it's very successful. It really minimizes surface runoff, and we are paving a lot of this site. And a few of you expressed that this may be a little higher than your property, so you're getting some runoff now. This should alleviate, actually help some of that. But again, we have to rely on our engineers. Item 2 is snow removal. We're probably not done talking about that, and that is a legitimate concern. Number 3, we talked about the trucks. There's still some discussing there. AC condensers have been discussed and been located. Site lighting. There is no site lighting on this site, if I understand correctly. Just building wall pack, not wall packs, but decorative wall packs. I think we would like, as a condition, would like a cut of what that is submitted to Ms. Vanson.
I think in addition to that, we could easily provide a photometric plan.
Perfect.
That would be good.
Ensures that
Perfect.
the adjacent properties aren't getting any excess light. We could do that. That could be part of the.
We can be part of the conditions.
I'll say perfect for the 4th time. That's great. There are no dumpsters. And from my calculations, it looks like we could get about 12 single-family lots on this by area. I don't know how it would configure, but we really could. So it's really not a lot more. And 18, to go back to the sewer and the taxing the services, we have 6,500 residences in this community. Adding 18 is a very minor thing, and I don't see that taxing our utility services. Balconies, okay, we discussed those. There are balconies. They're all on the inside. And bear with me here. Mr. Adler, how many large trees are you removing from this site? I know there's a couple trees around the perimeter, and you may not know the answer to that.
There's 4 dead trees.
4 dead trees? Yeah, they didn't look good when I drove by a month or so ago. Okay. And I would also like to mirror Mr. Morell's comment. We hear a lot about this being in a neighborhood, is really on the edge of a neighborhood. And what's happening to the east, or what may happen to the east of this towards Coolidge, what may happen to the north of this, La Salette, most likely will be more intense development should those disappear. This, to me, in projects we do, I'm an architect, in projects we do, these are buffers for commercial or other apartments or other things that could happen on those sites. Not that they will, but they could. And it may be 5 years, 10 years, or maybe a generation or 2 from now. But this is the kind of project that serves as a buffer between intense uses and single-family housing. And everybody's used to a nice flat lot there. My kids used to play soccer on this when they were little, before they banned that for some reason. I don't remember why.
Because it was too wet.
Too wet could be. So everybody's used to a green space, but it is private property, and the owners of the property have the right to develop their property within our rules and regulations as much as anybody else has the right to enjoy their property. Now, Amy, if we went traditional zoning and say this project, go back to that multifamily zoning, if we had rezoned this project or property multifamily, and we are here sitting at site plan approval right now for an apartment complex, would we require a fence around this property?
if it was zoned multiple family, you'd require a wall on those areas that abut, so, and my report's wrong, the property to the east is zoned office, so a wall would be required, on the south and on the, yes.
Okay.
The property.
So I think Mr. Tangari brought that up about the fence. And there's a hodgepodge of fences in various states of repair and disrepair around here. I think it would be a good idea to add to this some kind of a screening fence, as Mr. Tangari. And I don't know how the rest of the commission feels. But if this was a traditional rezoning and a traditional site plan approval, we would require a fence.
Yeah, we would.
Or a wall of some sort. So I don't see that as any different here. We just have a different vehicle here.
Yeah.
So we would require that. Bear with me here. I write all over these things. I have to find them. And again, I want to reiterate, yes, this is a 35-foot high building, but it's 31 to 35 feet away from property lines. You could have a 30-foot tall building 5 feet from your property line. So the impact, and again, there's 3 of them lined up. It's how you perceive it. But you could have a very large building. I have a very large house being built next to me that's 5 feet from my property line right now. And it's disturbing, but it's the way it is. And so the net impact, the net apparent view outside your window of this is less than what you would have 5 feet from your property line if you had a 30-foot wall, 30-foot high wall of a neighboring house. I just want to make that's obviously open to perception and interpretation, but I just want everybody to realize that these aren't a whole lot bigger than what could be legally built here as in a single family residence. Mr. Adler, I would like to see the materials called out on the elevations. We know what you're intending to do, but it doesn't specific, you know, we talked a month or two ago about differential sidings on the outboard side. And you've done a fine job of articulating the garage doors and the side. But I'd like to see that the sidings that are maybe projected here, at least in colors, are indicated as siding 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. I'd like to see the materials, if you would be so kind, to have those put on the architectural drawings. On all the elevations, not just the rear elevations. We talked about the light fixtures. I think that's it, Mr. Chairman. I know we're not done talking about a couple things. I am intrigued at the possibility of paving that back lane one way. Maybe this becomes one way in and one way out, just throwing that out.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too.
Yeah, and I think that needs some more thought. Amy, what would, maybe you don't know this, what would public safety require? I know there's a turning radius required going around the building. Do you know what they require for the width of that fire lane?
No, I don't, I'm sorry.
Once rear's out. Well, like I said, you may not know. Right now, it's shown at 22, 24 feet. That may be wider than it needs to be.
I think the International Fire Code, if you go by that basis, I believe it's 20 feet.
Okay.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
For a fire lane.
Okay.
Thank you.
I should know that, actually, but I don't. Oh, and in the front,
He should know, I don't know.
I don't remember.
the proposed wood fence, the one place we do show it, we need our 10-foot triangle at the front sidewalk, and we would need that on the east side also. So whatever fence we put, well, we're not talking about putting a fence there, I guess, are we?
Right, no.
Okay, south and east, or south and west.
South and west.
South and west.
Yeah,
you're
it
talking
has to be
about.
held back.
Yes,
10
10
feet?
feet.
10 feet from the,
Sidewalk.
from the sidewalk, yeah. There's a lot of city comments as with the DPW and the city engineer
The
that need
applicant
to
got
be
all of
addressed.
those.
Mr. Adler has all of it?
He has all.
Okay, good.
Good, good.
And there was another comment, Amy, in your report about parallel parking spaces being 23 feet long, and these are 20 feet long.
Mr. Adler and I went over that, and I apparently did not measure them quite accurately, so.
Well, this is at a weird scale, this drawing, I
Oh.
think. I had trouble scaling it, yeah, so.
So are we up to?
Perhaps that I looked at it, 2 weeks ago when I had a case of pink eye. I don't know, but he
Okay.
and I did go over it
Okay,
and looked
I'm
at
just
the
going from the
scale.
report.
And so, yes, no, you are.
22 feet.
Okay, well, that's, yeah, okay. Now, our ordinance apparently, and I didn't read that, but we do require 23 feet?
We say 23, but again, we do have stipulations that, I think it's a generous spot. I think there are
Oh,
other
yeah.
locations that, throughout the city that they are tighter.
Us old timers parked in 19 and 20-foot long parallel spots all the time with big Mercury station wagons, so.
Good job.
I can get
Did
my
you
whole
hit
cruise.
other people while you were parking in it?
Not many.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, I think I covered most of my notes, but we still have a couple items we need to talk about as the drive.
Okay.
I,
Mr. Richardson?
If someone could refresh my memory about where the idea for the pervious fire lane as opposed to a paved fire lane originated from?
I think it was the idea just to clean
Yeah.
it, get some greenies.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
green
the
and
idea was
pervious.
that rather than
Yeah.
paving it, that it was going to be green, and it was
Okay.
going to be, a little more open.
So it was an aesthetic
Well,
and,
yeah,
and
and
a
then
drainage issue.
and public safety really, 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 really wanted to have that accessible for a fire truck.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
then, okay, how can we have green plus the fire truck not sink? So
Yeah.
that's how this came up.
Just one other thing, I note on the plans that there's a plan to plant 15 trees, I believe. And some of those will be in the courtyard areas. How many will be, if you know, on the perimeter? Wish Mr. Smith wouldn't do that.
well, I count 6.
Yeah, I counted 6.
Some in the front, through the middle.
Is there any merit to the thought of maybe planting a couple of additional trees to the rear of the property? Would that, on the fire lane side?
Yeah, I guess it ultimately ends up being what we're gonna do with the fire lane.
Yeah.
And then what we can do, again, work that out once we decide. fire
I'm
lane.
just wondering if that would be an aesthetic advantage to the neighborhood, if,
Yeah, if that was something that we had the
yeah.
room to do, yeah,
yeah, okay.
I can't see a reason why not. I just,
Okay.
make sure that we have
The room.
what we're gonna do first, yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot.
Right.
Got turning radius. you got-
I understand that
radius.
issue, but your openness to it is, okay.
Okay.
It's
Mr.
on the
Muir?
south, of the south front.
I'm curious, I'm looking at your site plan right now, and I'm seeing that in the walkways between buildings, running east-west, you have it looks like the walkway turns up and butts up against the building. You know why you're doing that, or
Bike racks.
bike racks, okay. All right. Makes sense.
Okay. Other comments from the planning commission? There were a couple people who wanted to address this, some issues. May step up to the microphone.
State your name.
State your name.
Sorry about that. My name is Marcella Kinland. I live at 2125 Urbina. I live quite a distance from this. I barely had any knowledge that something of this size was even proposed anywhere near my neighborhood. At this point, I got a notice on my door. I asked my neighbors if they'd even seen the notice. We get so many pieces of paper on our doors that most of my neighbors didn't even know, let alone say, oh, I can make it to that. I had a hockey tournament this weekend, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to be able to go to the weekend meeting to look over plans. I'm actually relatively knowledgeable, being able to look over plans and say, oh, hey, I have a good spatial recognition, that sort of thing. Went to a couple years of design school. The snow removal that everybody's talked about, it concerns me. All of the parking along that park area ends up getting piled up to a good 15, 20 feet tall in a good snow year. The past couple years, it gets piled at least that high. because I showed up a little bit late because I had to go to the PTA meeting that's talking about all of the traffic around the school and what the school is actually going to do about the traffic that is so bad. The public safety officer that came to speak to us was talking about whether or not he is just going to start writing people tickets because they're having to change the way that the traffic plan for the school is currently. My kids are 13 and 11, and part of the reason we moved to Berkley was because of the community atmosphere and because my kid could walk to the pizza place just down the street, and he could walk to the ice rink, and he could walk to the high school real easy. And being a 13-year-old kid, he's not going to be the person who's looking for cars going in and out of driveways all over the place. As much as I try and tell him, look out for cars, he's earbuds in, biking down the road, no matter what I tell him. I mean, I put up with all of the parking around Hurley Field, which is already making passing those streets amazing on football days, on baseball days. Kids are darting in and out and around all times of the day and night throughout that neighborhood. And if a unit like this goes in, as everyone else has said, it seems to me that the size and the scope of this project is a little bit larger than what would keep with the neighborhood. You said 12 single-family homes.
Could be.
Most of the homes in the neighborhood currently are bungalows, or they're single story. They aren't the monstrosities that are being built throughout the city where older homes have been knocked down, especially in that neighborhood. Along my street of Robina, a ton of the older residents are still there. I think there are 3 younger families besides myself that are currently, maybe 4. But either way, we're the brand new people. And I'm sure that more and more people who have moved in weren't looking at going, oh, hey, there's going to be this 40 plus minus cars adding to the traffic pattern. I mean, one afternoon coming home from hockey practice, my kid's a goalie, we literally were going around the corner there at Robina, and the next street up, is it Oxford maybe? Sorry, Robina and Oxford, and there were 3 kids on bikes, on their cell phones, in the middle of the road. Between trying to get around the corner and the traffic that was already along the block for the baseball games, those kids are so lucky that we live in the neighborhood and we stay slow. I would love to have more traffic studies done about our street. Apparently, one of the older residents said that at one point that was actually a stop sign. But I woke up one night and there was I think it was a Flex, literally on its side, 3 houses down from me. And it was a kid, and it was the middle of the night, but they still drove too fast. And they ended up rolling their car onto its side. And so traffic is truly my biggest concern. The green space, it would be lovely to be able to keep it there. I haven't been able to have much access to the plans, so I know that everyone's garden is currently close to that area, and I don't know that that's in the proposed area or not, but I planned on taking my daughter there this summer, if it's still there, so she can have her own little plot that's her own, because I have landscaped most of my yard, and I already have everything but a small strip developed for my own use, and that way she has her own space. The concern of the trees are going to stay small, which happens with any development, but all of the people that I was listening to were talking about the view from those 2nd and 3rd story windows or balconies or whatever into their houses, even if it's not a balcony, which not everyone's going to use their balcony. Townhouses tend to not always encourage families, which seems to be what Berkley is in that neighborhood, especially. It's not like across Coolidge where there are all the apartments. It seems like, I mean, my husband literally couldn't come tonight because he was at hockey practice. He'd have his own views, I'm sure. He does work for an engineering firm that is in the city. We moved to Berkley because it was so close to his office, and it was essentially located location. But he was the first person who said, wow, that doesn't seem like something that Berkeley was going to do in our neighborhood. Next door to us, there's an amateur astronomer, and when I asked him about it, he said, oh man, that's going to be a lot more light. That means I probably won't be able to use my telescopes on nights that it could be darker, because it's not it's glare, as someone brought up. It's not fixtures that are downlit at this point. I mean, the comments I was hearing from the people behind me or sitting across from me were saying that they were considering whether or not they'd be looking at other areas and putting their homes up for sale because of a situation like this, because of the volume of people that would be moving in. We all moved into the community that we're in, taking those aspects into effect. I looked at the schools. I looked at the central location. I wasn't even looking at places that didn't have good schools. And I would be considering whether or not I was going to look again if something this big went in so close to my house. We've already had somebody who, I don't know which developer it was, but he called my husband at work and he offered to buy our house above market value so he could tear it down and put in something else. I'm glad he still has the number, because I'm fairly certain none of you would actually want large structures with that volume of traffic and that many people in your very backyard. And I don't even have it in my direct backyard. But I know that the traffic patterns that are already there were more than we anticipated when we moved in, because we're right on around the bend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right.
Steve Allen, once again, thank you very much for listening to our concerns and working towards working this out amicably. What I had just given Mr. Chairman is a couple of condo complexes that are 1, 2, 3 right next to each other in the village of Oxford. The first 3 pages are for Ashley Way condos. It's a 6-unit condo development, has a 21-foot road that you can see quite clearly on there how difficult it is for 2 cars to be side by side on there. And picture number 2 is the very thing that you're talking about doing with an access lane behind the building. Well, this is a very clear picture of that access lane, and the first time the Oxford Fire Department drove a truck down through there, it sunk up to its axles. That's why they put concrete drive lanes on both, so it doesn't work as well in practice as it does in theory. Thank you.
Thank you.
Without Perfili Kipling again, I've gotten notes all over.
You've been up here once. Have you got something additional that you want to
Yes,
add to
absolutely.
what you've heard? All right.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of property value, how much are these going to be sold for? Do we know that?
I don't think that number has been fully.
Okay.
We
I'm
don't
just
know the
worried
answer to
about-
that right now.
Okay, I'm just worried about my property value going down. Spoken with real estate professionals and having a home next to a multi-unit development versus 4 brand-new homes would drive it down. I have a question about the fence. We have not seen renderings of the fence.
Just-
I'm sorry?
We're just talking about the fence. We haven't decided what that will be yet.
Okay, and you were talking about a wood fence.
Yes, there was a talk about a shadow box fence.
Okay.
But we haven't really got to that.
Okay.
We haven't fully got there yet.
Okay. I would just prefer a solid stone fence with the headlights would be an issue for me going onto the properties. Also with the snow being plowed, I'm wondering if that would disturb a wood fence.
We are working on the snow removal
Okay.
also.
Okay. Do we know when this project would start?
Well, we've got several steps we've got to take here.
Okay.
I would I'm not sure yet.
Okay. The driveway, does it meet the required width with parking included on it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And how many parking spots per unit are designated at this time?
There's two per, well, there's two per
Two
unit.
for each,
for each
two are
garage.
required.
Two
And
per
there's
u-
extra.
3 provided.
Yeah.
Three
There's
provided.
3 additional provided
Yep.
per building.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah,
two.
1 per unit, right.
Yeah.
So the
Right,
two
but
garage
they have
spots?
2 garage spots.
Right, yeah.
And then
Plus 1 additional, yes.
one additional. You talked about the redevelopment of the church, and yeah, that could be redeveloped into a multi-unit building or whatever would be in mind, but also I just want to remind you that is located off of a major road. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, John Long, 2060 Kipling. I do not plan on rehashing everything that all my neighbors have gone through already because I think they made a pretty good case of why they don't want the development. And I appreciate your thoughtful responses to our concerns. A couple of things that came up during those comments I want to bring up so we can talk about this and come to an amicable solution. A couple of things, I have a 4-year-old daughter who has learned how to ride her bike on Harvard, on that sidewalk. And that's one of her favorite things to do, is to ride that sidewalk. With 40 some odd plus cars coming out of there a day, it is a bit disconcerting. So I have some, and the traffic obviously, I have some concerns with. So what I would ask this group to think about is to, if you're going to continue this driveway as a one-way, which I've heard proposed here this evening, what I would like to say is that, and Mr. Adler should, hopefully want this for the neighborhood as well. These new residents might only be allowed to turn right onto Harvard out of their new development. That would alleviate some stress on the neighborhood with traffic coming through and cutting through when they're heading off to work. They should be required to go out to Coolidge, down to 11 Mile, and make their way to their designated highways. One solution. Also, what that would mean, though, and those are between the hours of the heavy traffic morning hours of 6 to 11, I feel would alleviate some of that traffic. Now, with that in mind, the other thing that would need to go along with that is obviously the streets around us would need to limit traffic coming in as well. So off of 11 Mile west of Coolidge, my thought process would be that you eliminate a left turn from west of Coolidge on 11 Mile into the neighborhood, and as far back as the light, which I believe is Rabina. If I'm wrong, please correct me. That would alleviate some of the potential issues of extra traffic going through these neighborhoods and maybe alleviating some of the concerns. My other big one, and I think that you all would be in agreement, if the air conditioning units, the HVACs, are around the property line by these garages, 18 units humming away in the summer, it's going to sound like a factory. So my proposal is, everybody likes their air conditioning, everybody likes to be cool in the summer. These units should be moved to the courtyard area of this development. If these folks want to have these units humming away, they can do it inside their development, which should alleviate some of the noise concerns for the residents. So those are the items that I just wanted you to think about, discuss. I'm sure we can talk about it again later, but and then along with the fencing or wall along the perimeter, I'm definitely in support of that, along with enough trees to soften the areas. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I have a little one that I have to go get. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, what is the desire of the Planning Commission at this point? It seems that do you want Mr. Adler to pursue some of this and come back to us before you get ready to send this to council? What is your, I'm not sure we're ready to go to council.
I don't think we are ready yet.
Agreed.
We gotta figure out the snow.
The snow, the garbage, the
Okay.
lighting.
Yep. The lighting, I think, is a
I think the lighting is a non-issue.
The
to be-
fence.
We need to talk about the fence. We need to talk about
the fire lane in the back.
Fire lane.
fire lane,
Mr.
fence.
Chairman?
Mr. Martin Smith.
I don't think the lighting's an issue. You know, it's on the building. It's no different than any of us have on our,
Right.
at least from what I hear, it's no different than what any of us have in our homes. We, of course, as I mentioned, would like to see a copy of that.
Yep.
There's no parking lot lighting here.
Nope.
And a
They-
photometric plan was offered.
And they offered a photometric plan.
So, I
Now,
think-
we would like to see that, of course.
Yeah.
And in some cases, that has been, you know, approved by staff without coming back to us. But I think the biggest issue here is the south lane. And, you know, that brings up other items. Do we want to go one way in, one way out? Do we want to pave it? Do we like the, you know, the idea of the paving, the pervious paving, you know, everybody likes green space.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, it doesn't work as well, especially for heavy equipment, like fire trucks in the spring,
Right.
as a regular paving would. Now, who knows? God forbid there is an event here, but who knows, you know, when it occurs. Hey, it could occur in the middle of a 3-foot snow, but we just don't know that. But things happen, and we can't control those things. I'm intrigued by the one-way, the paving the fire lane. And we all talked about this months ago, making it green, and that's a great idea, but sometimes it just doesn't, it just might not make sense. And a lot of that was for the sake of the neighbors, to see green space here.
Right.
Between the building.
Yep.
But, well, that's true. We talk about a fence, they're not gonna see it. So I'm intrigued about going one way, maybe in on the west, out on the east. And the gentleman who just spoke, maybe out is right turn only. That's probably not a bad idea. Most people go that way anyway. I don't see restricting left turns off of Coolidge, because other people live down this street too, so that doesn't really seem like a.
Wouldn't public safety have to be consulted about?
Yes.
Yes.
They would be, yep.
Yep, they're gonna have
So
to
I don't
be.
see that happening. And realize any traffic coming off of Coolidge, everybody's worried about traffic here. Well, they're gonna stop here, and they pull in here. They don't continue on. But I do like the idea of maybe a right-hand turn lane, and most people honor that when they see it, as a possibility. It won't necessarily reduce the width of the pavement on the east and west sides, because people still have to back out of their garages. But I think we need to talk about that. Maybe the applicant has some good ideas.
And
Mr. Chair, wait,
go ahead.
I disagree with the right turn only coming out, mainly because they're, you know, if there are families living there, they may want to bring their children to school. So to route them out and about.
Yeah, well.
And, I mean, they should be able to turn left and right.
It's an idea.
And I don't see a mad rush of 40 cars leaving at the same time. I mean, my neighborhood, I'm the only one who leaves my neighborhood of the, 15 houses on my block when I leave.
Right.
Never anybody when I'm backing up.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know where the number 40 came from. Someone said that tonight, and all of a sudden everybody latched onto it.
18, yeah,
Yeah,
18
there's
houses.
18 units.
18
I don't know where 40 cars came from,
Well,
but
if
everybody's
everybody worked.
at the same time.
Leaving at the same time.
And their 4 kids leave at the same time with their cars. So.
We know that they.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
no one said 40 cars. Somebody brought it up, and we keep saying that number,
Yeah.
but that's not a true
That's
number.
not a good number.
That's not a real number.
Not a real
And
number.
I don't totally agree with the one way around the site, because if if it's coming in on the west, well, if I live on the first unit on the east, I gotta drive all the way around the unit to get to my garage.
Just like you do on the boulevard.
Doesn't really make sense.
But to get out on a two-lane road, for, there, even, especially if you're parallel parked, a lot of people have 3 cars. There will be some families in here.
Right.
Someone has to
All
turn.
3-bedroom units.
Someone has to figure out not only how to parallel park, but how to turn around. If they're heading southward and they pull in southward, once they manage to parallel park, then they got to figure out how to turn around. Pardon me?
I said you're gonna need to buy a body shop or an automotive
Right.
insurance.
Okay.
But see, but with the 2-lane road, they also have to turn around somewhere. And the only reason I bring up, the other reason I bring up the one-way is we alleviate that. So.
Well, you don't have
just-
to, you don't have to turn around if you're
No.
parallel
No.
parked.
How do you get out?
Well,
You
you
can-
could go around, you're not.
Well, I'm saying
mandated.
if we go around.
Yeah.
Pull
If we
into
don't-
like where one of the
yeah.
one of the
If we
garages
have the
is.
road all the way around, you don't
Right.
have to. Otherwise, the way it is now, you do.
You pull in
Okay.
front of the thing and you back out. You pull in front of the garage door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, there's advantages both ways. And,
All right.
I guess my 2 cents worth is, if we are gonna pave the fire lane, that's gonna probably become a more trafficked area, and I would think, off the top of my head, that better landscaping back there, more trees, would be a desirable thing if we decide to pave.
Well, we need
that
to
area.
see look at that and see where we're going. All right, so it sounds like we need to give Mr. Adler some direction here. What do you want him to do?
Question. Amy, there's quite an engineering list. Has the applicant had an opportunity to resolve those items?
He's reviewed them.
My engineer has reviewed them, and he said that they're pretty much standard public concerns.
There's no real big issues.
No, there's nothing that's impossible in there. It's just a rather lengthy list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no
So-
issues that he raised a red flag to me.
Okay.
Okay,
I wouldn't think
good.
so. Yeah, reading them.
I read it through and I didn't see it.
But there are a lot of issues, and I don't know if we're prepared to send this off to city council.
I don't think we are.
I'd like to have an approval from the engineers,
Okay.
or a tentative approval, or agreement with
We'd
the
like to see
applicant.
something come back that says
Yeah.
either with a short list and it's
Yeah,
okay.
Or, yeah, make sure we can check all those off.
Yeah.
He hasn't had an opportunity to do that. And we've talked about several items. They offered a photometrics, which is great.
Yeah, we need that.
That's perfect. There's still some concerns about snow removal, no matter what we do.
Yeah.
And that really is up to the
Condo association.
Condo association, but,
We're just gonna have to see that, I think verbiage goes into the.
no matter what, that'll be an
recitals.
motion. Yeah,
That goes
so that's-
into it, that has to be dealt with, yeah.
Yeah, and, but still, what do we do about that south lane? One-way, two-way, whatever, those are issues.
And then the screen wall.
Mr. Adler, why don't you make a suggestion to us?
Why don't I sit down with traffic, the city's traffic,
Okay.
DPW, and talk to them and see what is the best way in the fire department.
Okay.
Fire chief, and let's see what is going to work out the best for everybody.
Okay.
And there's other thoughts that Dan and I are talking about of, maybe allowing two-way traffic, but just garbage trucks, for example, just going one way. That's really the biggest thing. So you don't have, because if you have that backing up noise, they would
Yep.
eliminate that. So, but I have no problem sitting down and
Okay.
if you want, prove a contingent on that, table it. I don't know your process here, what you want to do.
Well, postpone it.
Postpone it till
Postpone
next
it.
month, or
I've
whatever,
got all three
whenever
different
you
ways
feel.
before, so.
Postpone it to your convenience.
Yeah, and that way I can get you back the photometric plan as well.
Okay.
And address those other issues. But let me ask you this, is it the desire of this commission to pave it? I mean, if I'm going to go back, I need to go back with a direction. Or is it to leave it a green space?
I think so.
I think so.
I think paving seems to be the answer here.
Okay.
Wait a minute,
No.
as an engineer, not an architect, structurally, you can build the greeny grow or you can build it. I mean, you have to do your substructure correctly, you have to deal with your stormwater. the amount of traffic that's going to, I mean, if it starts to fail, the condo association's gonna have to address that. But if it's designed well and built correctly to spec, it should be at the speed and the weight of the the infrequency of the heavier trucks, and I don't think the fire truck's gonna be there very often.
No, let's hope not.
It's not a senior project.
But I think you could
It can be
design
done.
and build it, and then you'll have to cost that out, like your substructure may be greater, but I mean, even if you put in pavement, if it's not, your substructure's not good, it's all just gonna start to crack
Right.
and fall away anyways, whatever you're gonna put in there, but I think you should try for the green space, I think it would be more pleasing to the residents.
Yeah.
And a nice example to use for the city for other options.
I have no issue either way, if I may,
I don't
Chairman.
care.
I have no issue either way. There's advantages both ways.
Yeah.
You know, we put parking lots on top of the, remember, we're right on top of the detention, the underground detention too.
Yeah.
We put parking lots on top of these things all the time.
Yeah.
And it
All
can
around
be
the
done,
library.
but it's a matter of a cost thing.
Sure, yeah.
We love
you have
the
to weigh all
green.
that. You have to weigh all that.
We also
But if it
like
works, it's just
defined
a nice model for
streets.
something else.
Well, we need to give Mr. Adler some direction. What do you want to do? You want to go
I think it's
green?
a-
Find the maintenance is
I
too
think
much
it's
on it.
his, yeah, I think that's up to him
All right.
at that point.
Can we leave it in your hands, sir?
Chairman?
Mr. Morrell.
I think if you were to, if you look at that paving system that he's proposed for under the sod, I think if you were to go to those companies and say, how many vehicles, how many garbage trucks a week can this stuff handle and still look green? The answer you're gonna get is zero.
Right.
That's what I'm
I do
afraid
not
of.
Especially on a
believe
turn.
those systems are not meant for even, I mean, they're meant for, somebody had a heart attack, we need to get an ambulance back there right
That's what
now.
it's
Or,
really
or,
designed.
you see them a lot on golf courses.
Yeah.
And that's what it's for. This is not for weekly garbage trucks.
No.
And that's why I think, I think that the idea of
And I think
having the
residents
garbage
would-
trucks go in and make one circuit is a good idea. And if that means sacrificing the green to pave this, I would pave it.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I think it's up
I
to the
think-
applicant. It's his decision. But you're right.
I gotta guess right.
And then what about the
Guess
wall?
right.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Do we want a fence or a
Well,
wall?
I guess what I'm looking for, and I'm not an engineer, but what I'm looking for is some assurance that whatever you put back there will be sufficient for the anticipated vehicles, the fire trucks and the garbage trucks.
Yeah, it's designed right now for a fire truck.
Yeah.
I mean, the engineers have it designed to load, for a load for the weight of a
I'm
fire truck.
hearing kind of contradictory information here. I think I'd like to hear from.
That's a frequency
Yeah, I think it's
thing.
one thing if
Yeah.
it'll hold the garbage truck, it just won't be pretty.
It won't look pretty. It will.
Well,
The grass is
It'll look
gonna
like a
die.
fire
Isn't gonna
lane.
look pretty.
Yeah, you're
then
gonna see the
what-
tracks.
It will.
Especially
It's-
the point of it.
Depending on the time of
And
year.
then you're gonna have
Yep.
residents that use
Okay.
it.
Yep.
That's gonna be the biggest.
Okay.
I don't think that's the
Sure.
condo
What about
association
the
issue.
wall or
I got
fence?
3 conversations. Can I have one conversation? Mr. Murad?
Material for the fence. What's our feeling?
Wood, okay?
Shadow box.
Shadow box?
Because we've heard from some residents that they don't want car lights shining through it.
They stop their neighbors now.
What's the ordinance say, Miss Amy, Miss Vanson?
This is a PUD.
It's
PUD,
PUD. We
it could be
can do
I
what
know,
we
but
want to.
If we were going to typical zoning
was gonna
and site
be-
plan approval, apartments against single family,
Well, they're not apartments. It's
But if it-
towns.
townhouses.
We don't
Townhouse.
have
This
towns.
was multifamily.
Okay, what's our new, I don't wanna say this, what's our new version of our code gonna be saying?
We were talking about shadow box.
Shadow boxes, we were.
Yeah.
I'm just asking,
Okay.
I just wanna make that public.
Okay, well, shadow box.
We don't wanna spring the new code on everybody.
Shadow box will,
All right, shadow box? Okay.
yeah,
So,
okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
then that's it.
That was it?
All right.
What I wanted to know.
All right. So at this point, we're going to postpone,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Morrell.
we did mention calling out materials on the elevations.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot that.
Mr.
I
Morrell.
had that written down.
And holding back the fence 10 feet off of the Harvard frontage for
Right.
for
Right.
pedestrians.
That's
Yep.
been included, yeah.
Been there.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're going to postpone. Is that what we want to do?
Motion.
I'll make a motion to postpone to, how much time do you need, Mr. Adler? With holidays and,
Well, when is the next planning commission meeting?
End
January.
of January.
January?
Yeah.
What's the alternative? Wait till January.
Wait in January.
next meeting.
That's our next meeting. Gives you an opportunity to get everything pulled together.
That's more than enough time.
Okay.
So postpone until the January meeting.
I don't know what the date is in January at this.
Oh, and the court
My
doesn't
phone's off.
have the calendar anymore because the court's not here.
I'll give you.
Fourth
hang on.
Tuesday.
Fourth Tuesday of Jan.
26th.
26th.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, doesn't the judge have a calendar?
beat me to it. Exactly.
Thank you.
I will support that motion.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's take a roll call vote, please.
Shadle.
Yes.
Murad.
Yes.
Buckler.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Pop.
Yes.
Burrell.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes. Okay. Citizens' comments. I think citizens have pretty much. Liaison reports. I'd like to go through this kind of quickie.
They're at the city hall during normal business hours.
No chamber until tomorrow night.
Okay. Ms. Pop?
The DDA meets tomorrow morning.
Okay.
No report.
No report. Okay. Hey.
There we go.
That's when we move our meeting.
So I'm the only one that's got anything.
We should always.
Council.
I was just wondering if there's any way for us to see the new renderings before the next meeting. Is that gonna be a possibility, or are we just gonna
They're-
be in the dark when we come?
No, they're at City Hall, she just said.
I know, but those are the outdated ones if we're
Mr.
making
Adler, do you have
changes
an
to
idea on when you might have the new renderings available at this point? No, well,
I don't
new
think they'll-
plans.
Are
I
those
know the
changing?
renderings will stay the same.
Probably not changing.
Those aren't
Okay.
changing.
I understand.
I'm in the middle of a meeting. And everybody's. So let's all calm down here for a minute. When do you think you might have a set of documents ready?
You need them a month before, what's your due date?
26th is when we're going to have the meeting.
3 weeks before is time.
I'm in City Hall by that time.
Okay.
Distribute it out to you.
They'll be available in City Hall in
3 weeks before the meeting.
3 weeks.
What's
So
the meeting?
26th, so
Yes. 20
Would be the 5th.
5th.
5th of January, they'll be available at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let me move on here.
Council.
Council meeting. There was a council meeting last night. And, get my stuff here. Not ready for this. On the work session last night, there was an issue, there's three things that the city is looking at. One of them is bird feeders and the quantity of bird feeders and what have you. And they're working on the ordinance for that, to revamp that. And then there is a discussion now on what they call the tourist homes. And they're going to develop some information. Ms. Vanson's going to do another presentation, I think, at the next council meeting. And there'll probably be another work session on tourist homes. And this is where we have people open their homes to visitors to come, and they can stay 7, 14 days, whatever. They're trying to figure out how many days they'll do this, to allow for this. And there's the issue of parking and all kinds of aspects that got rattled around last night at the council meeting. And we will see it eventually. It will be coming before us. Wow. So just give you all a heads up that that'll be coming before us somewhere down the road. I won't say anything. And then they were talking about rubbish and garbage refuge and the people who they want to modify the regulations for scavenging, people who pick up stuff.
You can't pick up stuff. They're
Yeah.
not modifying it to allow that.
Yeah,
They're
they wanna-
clarifying it, and rather than make it a misdemeanor.
Yeah, they're gonna
royal
make it a civil
civil
defense or
infraction,
something like
so
that.
It's not, you can't get a scavenging license in the city.
Can't. Because people have been going around and picking up stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, so, and this came to a head, I guess, last year when we had the big flood in 2014, when they had the big flood. People were picking up stuff. So those were very interesting comments. The rest of this was nothing that really mattered to us at this point, but we will be seeing tourist homes.
Bird feeders, tourists, and scavengers.
I don't know that we'll see bird feeders necessarily, but we will see. We will see. Well, there's some people that got 10 or 12 bird feeders.
Oh, I know, yeah.
So there's an issue about.
That is an issue.
About rodents
They're
and
not
what
gonna need
have
site plan review, are they?
No, no. No. So anyway, let me run around the room tonight. Ms. Buckler, any comments?
Oh, sir.
Shado?
Yes, I think it's great that we had all the residents here tonight, and,
Where'd they go?
you know, very much appreciate the comments. We were listening, we are listening, and appreciate the attendance.
Mr. Morrell?
You know, believe it or not, actually having folks here to talk to makes it a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I do want to wish everybody a happy holiday for, we won't be back until January. so
January.
Whichever one it is you happen to celebrate, I hope you enjoy it.
Okay. Mr. Murad?
I'd like to echo all of that, as well as remind you guys that tomorrow night is the Chamber Holiday Party at Patrick J's. It's 5:30 to 7:30.
Ms. Pom?
I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'll see you next year.
Mr. Richardson?
And I also wish my fellow commissioners and the city residents the happiest of holidays. I think 2016 is going to be the best year in Berkeley ever. One last thing, as is usual, when we have a sensitive issue in front of us, our residents conduct themselves with civility. Mostly, they keep their comments to the point. And I just appreciate that, because we have so many examples in society where that does not occur, but it does occur here in Berkeley, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Martin Smith?
I will add nothing to that. That was what everybody said. I agree.
Yeah. I agree too, and it is good to see the residents come out and give us their opinions on these things. It's very important as we go forward and render decisions one way or another. And sometimes we agree with citizens and support them all the way to but their opinions are important, and we can need them. And I'd just like to wish everyone a happy holidays for coming up, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Morrell?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Winter? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.